Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. This week it's all about how to keep long lectures interesting. Hey, welcome along. My name is Caroline. I work at a UK university, so I teach and I research in physics. Welcome back to the channel. I know it's been a couple of weeks, maybe 3, possibly 4. It's been crazy busy at the university. I've had lots of teaching this semester, lots of PhD research going on, conferences happening. But it got me thinking, some of my lecture classes this semester are longer lectures. They're typically like 2 hours. And that is a long time for a student to maintain focus and for you as the teaching academic to maintain focus. So I thought today I would share my 5 top tips about how to keep a long lecture interesting. Okay, in at number 1, my first top tip is have a plan about when the breaks will be and communicate that plan to the students. I don't think I could sit there for 2 hours concentrating on a single topic, and I certainly would not expect my students to sit there and listen to some physics derivations and some physics explanations for the best part of 2 hours. You need a plan, but more importantly, you need, I think, to communicate that plan to the students. So yeah, it's great if you've got a class and it's a longer class and you say to them, we're going to have a break at some point. But I think as a student, it's nice to know when that break will be happening and how many breaks are you going to get if it's a really long lecture. So one of the first things I will do at the start of my hour 50 long sessions is I will break the lecture into chunks and I will share that with the class. So I'll say we're going to do this first, then we're going to do this fun exercise, then there'll be a chance to have a chat with your friends and talk about this particular problem, then we'll take a proper break, then a derivation, back to a video, and then we'll wind up the class. And it just gives them a schedule and a structure to know when the next break will be coming. And I think that can really help class focus. If you know you're going to get a break in 10 minutes time, it's much easier to concentrate for those 10 minutes, knowing you will then get a chance to stretch your legs and talk to the person next to you, than if you're sitting there for an undisclosed length of time and wondering if you're ever going to get a break to take a breather in the class. In at number 2 is a break. It doesn't have to be a you stop teaching break. So I will do a mix in my classes. There will be a break in a 2-hour lecture where I do stop teaching, so I stop teaching the class material. But quite often I will try to inject throughout the lecture activities, exercises, points where the class can discuss and talk between themselves, which act almost as mini breaks. So something I'll quite often do is I will show a particular physics example. So last week I was showing 2 balls that were colliding at a glancing collision angle, and we were looking at the change of speed of those 2 objects. So I showed the derivation of how you work out the mathematics, and then it would be very easy to go on to the next derivation and the next one after that and the next example. But instead I stopped and I showed the class a problem. And I said, okay, you've got now 10 minutes to use what I've just explained to you to try to solve this problem. Now, I think this is great for a couple of reasons. It gives the class the opportunity to have a quiet talk. So they've sat there, they've listened to you, they can now discuss with their friends. It means they can chat about anything they didn't quite understand. So if there was something you said that they didn't understand or was clear, they can ask the person next to them, they can ask you a question perhaps, and it allows them to do active learning. This was part of the graduate training certificate I went through when I started this whole being an academic journey, that when you begin being a lecturer, there's passive learning and there's active learning and there's different types of things, and I'm probably using the wrong terminology, but it's the fact that you're asking the students to engage and do something and to think through a problem that kind of changes, I guess, the style and the rhythm and the way that class is progressing. So second top tip is have a break, but all breaks don't have to be sit there and do nothing. A mini break can be an activity. Number 3, and this will depend on your topic, your personality, whether you feel comfortable doing this in a lecture. Try, if you can, to do something fun. So I know some topics won't lend themselves very readily to this, others will be much easier to inject something fun. It is a bit of a higher, not risk because you have to do it well, but it is something you have to be cautious of when you're putting humour into a lecture. Not everybody finds the same thing amusing or funny. You have to be very careful not to be offensive or isolate particular parts of your audience. But I try to do something light-hearted. I try to show something that might at least raise a smile. If I'm doing something, at the moment I'm teaching classical physics, so there's lots of things going up and down hills and slopes. So I think one of the clips I show is of a gymnast and the springboard breaks, and the gymnast flies through the air and crash lands in the judges' table. Now, it isn't real. It is a video that's been put together for a commercial, but it's quite, I guess, light-hearted to watch in some sense, and it's thought-provoking because then it leads into an exercise where we discuss whether the physics of that situation could have been real. So it might not be possible in your lectures. You might be challenging. It might be outside your comfort zone, in which case don't feel you need to go there. But if your material lends itself to a slightly lighter-hearted moment across your 2-hour lecture or your 3-hour lecture or whatever length of time you're in class for, that could potentially be a really good way, again, to change the rhythm of your lecture. Number 4, and again, this will depend on the material that you're lecturing. Sometimes it's fun to introduce a competitive element into a lecture. So there's a couple of points in my lecture series where this is possible, where I can have the students effectively competing against each other. So I'll split the lecture theatre into 2 or 3 groups. There'll be some kind of demonstration or puzzle or problem, and it will be a fun, friendly, but slightly competitive race to see who can get to that solution first. It adds a sort of, I guess, time pressure to the situation. So people now start to pick up the pace with their working because they want to get to the end solution. You can incentivize it if you want to. I've read various articles saying that as lecturers, we shouldn't be incentivizing things. So by that, I mean taking in sweets or rewards. We shouldn't be doing that because it's not suitable for the learners at university. When I asked my class about this and said, would you find that something appropriate or not, they were very happy for me to bring in some sweets or some prizes to take part in these fun competitive elements within the lectures. So again, you have to read your lecture room, you have to read the material that you're teaching and go, is it going to work or not work? Sometimes you can introduce a competitive element and it really doesn't work, in which case that's fine. There's nothing wrong as an academic with giving something a go and seeing, okay, that worked, that didn't work, I might change it for next year, or that was really great, I'm going to definitely keep that in. You don't want to overuse the same thing over and over again. So I definitely won't be having competitive elements in every week, every lecture class that I teach. It happens, I think, once or twice throughout my 11-week semester. But again, it's just something different. And as an audience member watching, you're being asked to actively engage with the material. You're being asked to think through what has been maybe explained or taught to you. There's that kind of fun interaction, hopefully, between your classmates. So again, I think if you can, an occasional use of some kind of competition within your class can be a fun addition and help break up a very long lecture class that you might be giving. And I guess number 5 is, as the academic lecturing, have empathy with your students. I think it goes a long way to say, we're going to do this and it will now take 45 minutes. It will take 40 minutes. And I appreciate that's difficult and a long time to concentrate, but I'm going to break it down. We'll get through it together. And at the end, we would have achieved X, Y, Z. And if you sort of put it that you are a team and you're going to complete this exercise together, and yes, you are the one at the front of the room imparting the knowledge and, helping the people in your class learn that particular material. But if you treat it as a team perspective and that you are, as I said, going to learn this material together, I think it can change how you articulate the material and how the class receive it. So in the next few weeks coming up, I have a couple of longer examples I have to show the students. These are longer worked physics examples. I elect not to shortcut them. I could choose to jump from one line, miss a few lines and go to another line. Sometimes that's fine to do, but I know when I was a student, I found that quite frustrating at times, because if you don't understand the mathematics between them, you can be a little bit stuck, wondering how somebody made that leap. So I tend to show it either in full in the lecture, or I have lecture notes which have it in full, and I give the edited highlights in the lecture, but the students get the full lecture notes as well. But these are longer pieces of work that we're going to do, and I will try to evoke that team spirit so that it's not me lecturing the class, if you like, but it's us together learning about this particular aspect. So that's my tip number 5, if you can. Evoke some kind of team spirit to help you cover those longer pieces of work where you can't really put a break in and you just need to give the material. So they're just my 5 top tips on how you might want to break up or segment, or tactics to use within a longer lecture to keep people interested. Typically, I'll look to do 50-minute classes, but this year it's worked for me to have some 2-hour or 1 hour 50 classes as well. Often I will have demonstrations and things to show the class, and by the time you're set up in the room, having that longer period is actually really good for me. But I'd love to know, for you who are teaching, how long do you have to lecture for? You know, what is your longest class? What do you think is reasonable? What are you happy? You know, you've got to remember as well, you are the one giving this lecture, and it can be tiring if you give one hour 50 2-hour lecture, have a short break, and then you're in again doing another 2-hour lecture to a different group of students. And let's flip it. If you are the student listening to a lecture, how long? How long is too long? You know, I think studies have said, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, something like that, we can put our concentration. Maybe it's 12. How long a lecture would you like to see, and how long can you concentrate and study for? Let me know in the comments. I really do love reading all of your comments. I am going to post a bit more frequently now as we build up towards the back end of semester. I'm over my super busy start of semester, so I will be on the channel a bit more. So if you're not subscribed, please do hit the subscribe button, join our little academic space here on YouTube, leave me a comment, take care, enjoy the semester, and I'll see you here soon. Cool. Bye.